All right, we are live. I'm like really orange. It's strange. All right, I just updated my little eCam live. Let's make sure everything's good. Audio input, Sennheiser, that's good. Let's get the chat bubble up. There's the chat. Hello. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Aaron. How's it going? Let me know y'all can see me and hear me okay. Apologies for the delay. Yes, new dad, so very hard to forecast when timing's available based on feeding and dirty diapers and whew, whatever else. So let's see. Let's see how much I can go before um, dad duties call. So okay, cool. Good. Okay, everybody can see me and hear me. Okay, great. All right, let's get started. So what I want to do is backfill some. Let's see. I worked on this yesterday. Let's see. I don't even know. I don't even know if this is still up, to be honest. JSON.McCreary.me. Not secure. Did I do that wrong? Let's go to JSON.McCreary.me. You were talking softly. No? I feel like I'm talking normal. I don't know. Maybe. Get this little blurb out of my way. Courses? I don't know. Is this not live right now? There's products pairing. Is it just products? Maybe it's like deals or promotions. I don't even remember. Anyway, there's something underneath this products section that I run for Black Friday, which I'll probably start a little early this year just because, new baby and all that fun stuff. More people work from home, with everything going on in the world. So anyway, this section has, my deals that I run, and this is all under this products.jasonmccreary.me. So let's bring up PHP Storm, and what I want to do, let's just run vendor bin PHP unit, and we should see some failures maybe. Nope, composer update. Let's try that again. I thought I recently did some changes to this, like upgrading it to Laravel 8 and everything before this stream, but that was also before baby was born, so honestly I'm a little fuzzy on the current state of this project. So let's try this again. Okay, so we definitely have a bunch of incomplete tests. So basically I want to get these passing. That'll be the main goal of this stream. And then if I have time, I'll kind of like break out maybe a couple quick TDD of the kind of the new sections I want to build. So let's do that. There it is, product. So I was working on it down here. Yeah, I also bounce between my iMac and my laptop, so like it's just there's a little bit of discombobulation there. Let's force quit my notes just to make sure I don't bring up anything goofy. All right, cool. Okay, so let's take a look. First of all, let's take a look at Composer JSON. Make sure this is Laravel 8, and it is. Okay, so that's good. And we saw that those tests were kind of running and failing. So let's just jump in. Let's start taking a look at what we have here. So I've got some mock tests here. So I'm not going to worry too much about those. Those are kind of my like form request, Unity spell checky kind of tests. So I'm not super worried about those. Let's focus on the controllers. I think these are the ones that probably matter the most. So, and I tell you what, I know for a fact that all this purchasing power stuff is tested on some of my other courses. So let's get a jump start just with a good old copy paste of these two, check purchasing power and apply purchasing power, and I'll kind of like, review them together. So let's bring up a new tab here, workspace. And let's bring up this and tests, and we'll just kind of copy over these other two tests that I'm after. Controller, all right, cool. And then let's go to base Laravel is definitely probably my most recent. Let's organize these by name. Base Laravel, site, tests, feature, HTTP, controllers. All right, there they are. The apply purchasing power and the check purchasing power. So let's just drop these over there and we'll make sure we add them, replace it, and let's drop the check in API and replace it. All right, let's take a look at what we get instead. Okay, great. So instead of this check purchasing power, incomplete test that we have, we're going to bring this over now. And really what this does, this purchasing power, is it's just a simple IP-based check. And that just calls off to just a free service. I think it's like free geocode.app or something. And it just gives me a JSON response. And if that country code is something that has like a PPP, discount, then all is good. That API responds with the discounted price, so a little banner can show up on the page and say, hey, looks like you're in Ukraine, and we're going to give you JMac, I'm going to give you a 35% discount. So let's see if this runs a little better. So vendor bin PHP unit, let's go to tests, feature, HTTP, controllers, API. Lots of exceptions. And this is because it actually uses a data provider on each one of these, API, PPP kind of things. So again, this isn't necessarily built into the application just yet. So this is kind of a pseudo TDD because last year when I wrote this, maybe I didn't have PPP, maybe it was under a different name. Yeah, this looks like API purchasing power instead of .ppp. So looks like a little inconsistency there. So let's just change that real fast. And I'll just highlight all those and change that, and let's see if we get a little farther down the road. So failures instead of exceptions, that's better. So yeah, the goal here is really just to kind of get all these passing again. And feel free to throw any questions in the chat. Like I said, we'll go over these a bit more as we kind of muddle through them. Okay, let's do this. Let's turn off. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So the new, most of these are actually going to fail until I update the API. So it returns 200 with HTML. Yeah. 424, that's a nuts code. Who's throwing a 424? Let's check the purchasing power bit. API, check purchasing power. Oh, I do throw a 424. Look at that. I'm like off my game here. Let's see. HTTP status codes. What is a 424? Oh, it doesn't even show 424. Come on now. There's like a really fun sheet of these. Where are they? 424. Failed dependency. The request failed due to a failure of a previous request. WebDAV. What am I doing? Okay, well anyway, I'm throwing that 424, which is funny. I guess the dependency in my mind was like the geocoder service. I make a request to it, but this seems to be a WebDAV only error code or HTTP status code. So it's a little weird that I'm using it, but I could see why I probably chose that one. Good old APIs and the status codes, random status codes. Okay, so let's at least fix those and then let's move on because I don't have the front end built out for this, and this is clearly looking for like a very specific kind of PPP banner kind of stuff that I probably just don't have built yet. So the copy paste is nice because it kind of allows me to do these simple tests, but it's not so nice because when I don't have other pieces of the application built out, it's going to break. Okay, so expected status code 409, but received 400. So let's just at least start fixing these because this should work. So let's turn off without, why doesn't that show up? This without exception handling. Why am I not getting auto completion there? What's going on here? Multiple definitions. Where are your multiple definitions coming from? Factory generator tests. All right, let's get rid of that factory generator because that should not be doing that. Composer JSON. Laravel shift factory generator. Oh, dev master. Yeah, that's probably not ready to go yet. Let's do composer update because I don't need that. All right, get rid of that goofiness there. And let's run just this. And it's just straight 400. So there's no error, it's just giving me back a 400. So let's get organized here. Let's bring this over. So maybe it's like not even getting here. Let's just make sure we're getting here. All right, we're definitely getting there. So received 400 instead of 409. Whoops. And let's see why. Okay, so we set server variables an empty remote address, and then we get this API purchasing power, and we should be coming back with status 409. But here we have 400. Okay, I see. I see what the issue is here. So it looks like, so again, the issue with copy paste is it looks like my implementation in this application is not the same as kind of the latest. So you know what? We can fix that by kind of doing the same thing we just did, because I know I want this to look like base Laravel. So let's just bring over what I want here and see if these line up just a bit better. So let's go to controllers, API, check that purchasing power, and let's back it up here to site, app, HTTP, controllers, API, and this is, yeah, there we go. That's the one I want. Drag, drop, replace. Okay, there's a bit of a difference now. So now we're returning a 409. We're not doing that weird 424 thing. I just return a 503, service unavailable. That makes a lot more sense. And then we're going to run these different country code things. So aside from the fact that I have a different route name, yes, we're running now. So let's see how far these go. And yes, okay, so now we're getting a 500, and let's just see what this 500 is real fast. So down here, it returns 200 with HTML for PPP, and it's this huge data provider, so it's going to do this like for all the countries that I run stuff on. So let's see. Call to undefined method, app models coupon for country. Okay, so it looks like my model is wrong too. We have find by country. All right. Let's take a look. Let's copy that over too, but I want to copy it over and compare it. I don't want to just blindly take that. So let's take this model or coupon. All right, and where are we? Let's check this out. So I want to compare this to this and just see the difference. Okay, so I definitely like these casts, but I actually don't want to use dates because it's deprecated. So let's say expired at is a date time. Uh-oh, I can hear baby girl crying. That's all right. Mom's got her for a minute. Okay, and we call this coupon for country instead of find by country now, but the rest actually looks pretty much the same, just kind of commented with the different discounts. All right, so we'll scroll past that. What else do we have? Was already used, so I'll probably want that. And then the rest looks the same. Expired, price, price and cents, all this stuff for Stripe. Cool. All right, let's get rid of this. And let's run this again. Exceptions and failures. Response is not a view. That makes sense. Undefined variable URL. Undefined variable URL. Oh, again, my front end view is kind of messed up. So let's back off of this for now because I do think it's a step in the right direction of having the coupons. Let's take a look at this apply purchasing power. And again, since we copied that over, let's just not run into that same problem. And let's take the controller that I want directly from that. So let's do apply purchasing power. I didn't mean to double click that. Quit. And then let's bring this over. Replace. Let's see what the difference is. Okay, so it's just so everything here was actually the same other than the fact that it goes to packages. All right, so let's just revert that. That should be fine. And then let's go take a look at this apply purchasing power and see how broken it is. Apply purchasing power test. Okay, so 2 failures. We're just going to the wrong spot. We have pairing type packages by now. So is that, I'm wondering, is that how I did it? Pairing. Maybe I just put it all here. Packages. Oh, here we go. It is under packages. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, last year I just had this. Okay, so now it's just a little time's up screen because it's expired. Okay, so this is good. So we just need it going to the correct place now, I guess. And then adding on the dot by now. Oh, this is a good question for the audience. Does anybody know if you can do like the little document inline link by using the route helper, or do you always have to like kind of concatenate it? It's like I'm wondering, like, is there some kind of way to do something like this? Just for like a little cleanliness. So it's like by now. Can you do that instead of this dot? I don't know if you can or can't. So if anybody knows that, let me know. We can try it out though, of course. So apply purchasing power, we just need to change where it's going. So this is going to go to, what do we want here? We want this to go to packages / by now, I think. That's roughly what it is. Or does that need to be a full? I bet you that has to be a full URL. Let's find out. So this has it going under pairing with a question mark of type packages. That doesn't seem right. Redirect to order index type packages. Let's check web.php and see how this works. Oh, okay. Right now I have packages just being the deal ended, but I'm wanting to now update this. Yeah. I'm wanting to update that to be the new one. So let's do this. Let's check out the history of this file and see what it used to be. So git show history, remove bundle deal. What did I change? Okay, so we used to do, here we go. We used to pull in a very specific type for order index controller. Let's bring this back to life. And that should fix what we want. There we go. Okay, so better, just no slash at the end, which of course makes sense. That was my mistake. Let's fix that. No slash. There we go. Good. Okay, so apply purchasing power works. Okay, so basically this takes care of the purchasing power minus the fact that the view's messed up. I'm not going to work on the view today. I want to go in and look at the other controllers first, particularly the order controller, and we'll start kind of blocking that out. So a little copy pasta there, but good enough to get started. So let's look at some of these other incomplete tests and actually kind of write these out the way they need to be, which is really just the order controller test. And let's go take a look at the order controller, because we see now that it's kind of double duty. It'll handle pairing and it'll handle the products, which it looks like that's going to need to be adjusted too. So let's check the history for this as well and kind of get that old code back. Show history. What? I don't want history from middleware. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Get show history, remove bundle deal. All right, what do we do here? So we used to get type injected, and then we would just update it. And we select the products out. I see. That's kind of interesting. What do I have in my products table? Products table seeder. Too many windows open. Let's slow this down. What is going on here? Close that. What is that? 8? I guess it's 8. All right. Okay, so products, we have starter, and then pairing is true. Okay, so basically I'm going to insert a bunch of new products. And I think last year I just offered like one deal, and this year I'm going to offer multiple. And that's the part that I kind of want to like test drive again if we get that far. But first I want to make sure that all of the ordering flow is correct. So I'm not going to worry too much about the fact that the products are different now, but I do want to kind of revert this specific piece. So let's go back to that history again, 9, and let's bring this part back to life. And that's all fine. Take it. Why won't you revert? All right, we'll go back. Revert. There we go. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. All right, so let's bring up the order controller test. Excuse me. Okay, so probably what we want to do here is let's just test index and say we'll say index returns pairing, and we do the view based on the type. Okay, so orders view type. Okay, so that's pretty easy to test. So index returns pairing or displays pairing products. And if I spelled products right, that would have been exactly what we wanted. All right, let's take away this mark test incomplete. We're going to go to the route, and we need to, of course, pass it the type of pairing. Whoops. Pairing. Okay, and we're going to assert, okay, we're going to assert view as orders pairing. We're going to assert that it has products. Why didn't you use the artisan test command? These were already pre-generated. In fact, I think initially I used the Laravel shift test generator, which goes in and analyzes your routes and looks at, kind of does some inspection on the class itself. And as we saw, kind of pre-generated more than artisan make test would do. So it's all good there. Oh, sorry. You're talking about PHP artisan test, the actual scripted command. You know what? I don't think I have that defined or specialized to run certain things, and I'm just old school. I do some projects still that are not Laravel, so I'm just used to, typing vendor bin PHP unit. So, but yes, you're right. PHP artisan's a shorthand and gives you a little bit cleaner of an output, and we'll run it here in a minute just to see the difference. So let me change this to products, And let's go ahead and make some products. So we'll say products equals, what is it? It'll be product factory and then create, and we'll want these to be, you know what, let's do this the right way. Let's say pairing products, and let's go take a look at this product factory, and let's define public function pairing, and that's like a this state, right? And we just set pairing equal to true here. Cool. All right, that should be good enough. And we'll create those. And then, you know what, let's just to demonstrate that it's actually doing the right thing, let's just go ahead and make just a factory as well, another product factory. And we'll know that that's not a pairing factory. So let's run just this now. And we'll do vendor bin PHP unit -- filter, just that, and we get a little bit of an issue here. So what's wrong with you? Oh, maybe I don't have test configuration set up? No, I do. Oh, we don't have, why don't we have use refresh database here? Strange. And let's bring out with faker. All right, cool. Call to member function create on null. Did I write that wrong? Oh, you have to return this, don't you? There we go. 500 doesn't match. Okay, so that's different. All right, without exception handling. All right, what did we break? Order controller. Order controller does not exist. Okay, sure. Web.php. Order control. Oh, I see. The action is a tuple of order controller. I'd change this to PHP 8, Laravel 8, which is now using class-based routes, or you register them with class-based routes. So that's why it's like, I don't know what order controller is, because it's looking for it in the global namespace. Let's run that again. All right, a little better. Method eloquent collection get key does not exist. That's a strange one. Element get key does not exist. Element get key. Where is this complaining about? Macroable? This is deep. Order controller test 31. So when it is asserting the view has products, there's something about get key that it doesn't like. Collection get key. I've seen this before. I'm trying to remember. While I'm remembering, I'm going to have a bite of my muffin. Get key. Eloquent collection get key does not exist. All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. This is not the correct approach, but I want to demonstrate what I think it is. So let's run this for a second. Yeah. Okay. I've seen this before. Sometimes, and maybe this kind of regressed or something. So I haven't really tried this approach since Laravel 8, to be honest. So there's something when you make things with a factory, they don't have the same kind of object representation as they do when you select them through Eloquent. So said another way, this, let's just call it, this is like a factory collection, and some of the properties on that are like a little bit different. Maybe the recently created flag and all the stuff are set differently. And if we debugged this, I could prove it. But when you select from Eloquent, which is what the actual implementation code is doing and what the view's actually getting, those don't line up the same. And when it goes to perform that comparison, you know, you get kind of a very weird error, something like this, right? Or you'll get like a huge object dump, and it's like, hey, these things don't match, and it's normally something really contrived, like the recently created or something. So maybe that's something with my factory that I have wrong. Again, I'm not saying it's Laravel, because I have other applications that do tests like this, but I have seen this before. And instead of going down a rabbit hole, let's try to get the rest of this test written. But that's what it is sometimes. So we're doing the right thing here by demonstrating that it's only returning the pairing products, even though we created some other ones. But for whatever reason, we can't compare the products that we generated directly with the Eloquent collection that the view gets. So we kind of have to select that on our own, which is a bit lame. But again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out why it's doing that right now. I'll do that later if I have time. So, okay, cool. So let's say something like displays promotional products. How about that? And we're going to drop the pairing, or we'll actually just flip this is effectively what we're going to do. So we'll make a pairing product, and then we'll make a set of products that aren't pairing, and we'll say something here like, or well, I think we call these package. Where's our web? Our web is packages. So displays promotional packages. There we go. And let's change this to packages. And we'll say here where pairing is false, and this will be packages. Oh, where's our full order controller test? All right, we got a failure. All right. I bet you that view doesn't exist. I must have killed it. All right, what's wrong with you? Yeah, orders packages does not exist. Okay. What's the fastest way to pull this out? I could look at the history for, I guess, that resource. Orders, pairing, oh, maybe it's just show? No, that's when you actually make an order. Let's look at get history, show history, remove bundle deal, and let's revert, I guess. Target changeless, what the hell is that? I don't know what that means. There we go, we got it back now. And there's all of our packages. Yay! All right, let's see if that's better. Kind of better. Order controller stores not defined. Yeah, that's, again, one of those Laravel 8 things. So let's change this to route order.store. That's much better. Okay, good. All right, so 2 more incomplete tests. So we know that we know that the displays are working correctly with the correct data. Good. Of course, the views aren't correct, as we know from the coupon. You know, the coupon work that we did a minute ago with the purchasing power. So I'm still gonna have to clean that up, but I won't do that as part of the live stream. Oh, we got some questions here. How did your IDE manage to go correctly to the factory when you clicked it? I always end up in has factory trait. I don't know. I don't think I set anything explicitly with PHP Storm. Now, in fairness, I am clicking the pairing here. When I do click factory, I end up in has factory, so that was a tiny difference. I clicked pairing, which is on the product factory. This must know. No, it doesn't know. I think my guess is PHP Storm knows that this trait is on this model, which in turn is somehow lined up, or it's just PHP Storm, magic being smart enough to find that method. But to your point, if I do click create or factory, it goes to the trait. So it was just that state method that worked. So it's kind of it looks like it's doing it, but really it's kind of getting lucky, I think, there. What are you eating? Oh, it's a blueberry muffin. Half of a blueberry muffin. So, cool. All right, let's get back to business. So let's get rid of that has bit. Okay, so show returns an OK response. So let's see what show's doing. This is pretty easy. Order show just returns the order. Okay, so I think we could probably just mark this as fine. Let's change this to order. Let's run that. There we go. Boom. So that was pretty easy. And that's why, and I know the question earlier was about running artisan tests to actually run the tests. But this is why I really love the test generator. And honestly, I built it kind of, for myself, for, selfish reasons. Because I was working on a lot of projects, my own included, that, just didn't have tests. And as we can see here, this one, something simple like this, it generated the test entirely, even though it said, incomplete. I didn't change any of the underlying tests. I just strengthened this assertion based on that comment, and I dropped the incomplete test. So, if you want to get started with testing a legacy project, definitely check out that test generator. Again, it's not going to generate everything, but you get a lot of bang for your buck with these HTTP tests, going in through your controller, because your controller is the entryway to everything in your application. So, you're going to test your models, your middleware, your views, all sorts of stuff. Any kind of service object that you're using ends up getting tested, with these. So you're touching a lot of your application is the point. Okay, store returns an OK response, and then store validates using a form request, and I don't think we need any more test cases. So I'm going to bring this up. This is just kind of a personal preference. This is my own little test assertion that I wrote. It's shared in that test assertions package that we looked at earlier. But it really just makes sure that the binding is here for this whole create order bit. So it makes sure that the validation is happening. Again, it's a little bit of a low-level test. Some people don't like that. Laravel's very, integration, end-to-end. Don't spell check. Don't spell check any kind of thing. But I don't know. It gives me a little bit of confidence. I don't have to write a million tests to test validation, which ultimately just test Laravel's validation. So I can get a fair amount of confidence for a very tiny test. So I kind of like it, and I use them. Okay, so let's take a look at store. This is a big one, and I've written some blog posts about this because there's so much that happens here. And I think instead of writing each one of these paths, this is going to be another example where we copy from base Laravel, because it's pretty much the same each time. It's going to use this payment gateway. And let's just run through them and tweak them for this application instead of kind of writing all this from scratch. Because again, I have a lot of videos and previous live streams and blog posts on like writing that test and kind of how I got here. So let's just kind of look at the final product and dissect it. So let's go back to base Laravel site, tests, feature, HTTP controllers, and let's drop over that order controller test. And we're not going to keep this, so let's just put it up here, and then we can compare kind of what this looks like. Okay, so we have those same index and the displays, and it looks like there's some PPP stuff here too. So we have charges order and creates account, creates order for existing user. What else do we have? Store throws exception for user with order. Great. Store returns error view when charge fails. We probably want those. So we can see how many applying the coupon to an order. We can see we're going to want pretty much all of these. Does not apply expired coupon. I mean, tons of tests. I mean, this is the heart of the application, is this single action that does all these different things. So let's start pulling off some of these failure paths, some of the sad paths, if you will, that we know we're going to want. So let's start with these three and just kind of tweak them appropriately. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this store returns and OK response because we're going to end up kind of pulling that. And let's kind of look through these one by one. Okay, so store returns error view when charge fails. And what we have here is, if we look at payment gateway, underneath we're going to get a payment gateway charge exception, which in turn throws, or it's a renderable exception. So this is going to return this errors generic message, and it's going to return it with whatever sad path that we got before. So we're just going to kind of fake all this out and allow Laravel to kind of handle that for us. So let's take a look at this, and I'll talk about that payment gateway in just a second. Okay, so we make a product, and we just set some tokens and emails that come across from Stripe. So we're kind of just faking that out. And then we're going to mock the payment gateway, which gets resolved from the container over here on the left. So that's the wiring that makes that happen. And then we're going to make our own little exception, payment gateway charge exception, and we're going to set it up with some data so we can make sure we can assert what gets we can assert what's passed to that view. And then we're going to say when payment gateway receives charge with all the appropriate data, the token, the product that came from the database, the email address that you entered, we're going to throw that exception. Okay, so now that everything's set up, we can actually call our store endpoint with the product, the token, and the email. We're going to assert that the response is okay. There's an argument to be made that that should maybe be like a 500 or something, which we could change. And then assert view is errors generic. The template is the charge failed. And then the data is the data that's passed to the view, data passed to the view. So we can see how we kind of set it all up, and then we execute it, and we end up making kind of this circle, right? The circle is complete, right? Down here at the bottom, we make sure that we got all the stuff that we set up top after we executed it. So we do a little setup, we make that call, and then we assert that the call matches our setup, and that creates that cycle, that perfect circle that we want. And then you should see that in your tests, right? It should feel that way. It should feel a little bit, recursive. It should feel a little bit redundant, right? It should feel, I just did the same thing, right? Like, that's good actually, that you have that when you write your tests. Okay, so let's see if this passes. I don't think that it will. I think some of that is going to have to get tweaked just a bit, but let's find out. Yeah, 500. Okay, that makes sense. I bet you some of this data setup is a bit off. So let's turn off exception handling, and let's see what our deal is. Okay, no matching handler found for charge. Yes, okay, because the charge path here is just a little bit different. Let me close the comments for a second. See, this takes order. It doesn't take the product and so forth. So that's the difference. So what can we do here? This is a little bit ugly, but it's kind of the way it has to happen. So what we're going to do is this is kind of fancy. We're going to do mockery on, and we're going to make a closure for the order, and we're going to return that the order product ID matches the product ID, and I did that completely backwards. So we want to make sure that those match, and the order's total matches the product price. And we need to bring in this product. There we go. All right, let's see what happens now. All right, still a little bit off here. What'd we break? Okay, we got the token, we got the email, and then we've got an order. All right, we got the token, we got the email, and then we have an order. Let's make sure that we're getting in here. Dump order. Okay, we are getting in here. Let's take a look at what order has. Product ID is 1, and that's a very strange price, but that's okay. Let's take off the strict equality check just real fast. See if that's part of our problem. Yeah, it is. Okay. So the strict equality was a little bit weird. Let's see if we can fix that with... Sorry. I got a crumb on my keyboard, and it's messing up my key. All right, cool. Let's take a look at the casts for order, and let's cast ID. I just want to see if we can fix this with casting. Integer, all right, and let's take a look at product, and we'll make ID an integer too, and let's just see if that can help kind of save the day here. Nope. Let's see which one it is. Maybe it's price. Nope. Let's see if it's ID. Oops. Seems to be both. All right, let's check one more thing. Order product, product ID. Wow, product ID, there we go. Still not liking it. All right, well, we'll leave them loose for now. And then let's get rid of that dump. Where did we dump the rest? Oh no, we're not dumping anymore. And now we need to turn back on exception handling. Okay, so let's review this because that was a little bit tight knit there. Okay, so there's two gotchas there. One, when we do this mockery on, this is really going to be heavily dependent on your cast, but more importantly, your underlying database. And right now we're using a memory SQL in-memory database, and pretty much everything in SQLite is a string. So unless Laravel does the casting just right and you have all that configured, you may run into some type juggling issues there. So this is enough of a check for me. Again, we can go back and figure out with the proper casting why some of that maybe wasn't working correctly. But we know that, with pretty reliable certainty that feels correct. So we changed that, and we're just doing a little closure here to run our own check, this mockery on. We could have done something really generic like, assert is type of order, but I just want to be a bit tighter than that, right? And since this is kind of newed up on the fly, that's impossible to test. So we kind of have to test its parts. So that mockery on is a really nice way to do that and to make really strong tests. And then the second thing that was a bit of a gotcha here is because we're relying on that rendered exception to be caught by Laravel and then rendered out as a view, we cannot have without exception handling on because we need the exception handling to be turned on and running for Laravel to do all that rendering correctly. So that's one of the reasons I try to never leave without exception handling in there. You might think it's just kind of an innocuous thing. It's no big deal if it's there or not when your test is passing. But because of a test like this, that actually is a big deal. So anytime I see these, I consider these like a debug or a die dump or a dump die statement. They're a debugging element that should not get committed or maintained in the code. And if you ever did need that on for some reason, that's one of the few times a little code comment might be valuable to say, hey, we're leaving exception handling turned off because we want to, test this low-level exception is thrown or whatever. Okay, so I think that's one of the sad paths. Let's try to get these other two, and then that's probably all the time I have before mom needs me to take over with baby girl. So, cool. Okay, looks like the next test was a bit of a happy path. So store applies coupon to order. So that's this line. So let's check this out. So we make a coupon, 10% off, and we make a product, that's $10. So nice easy math, should be $9. And we have the token in the email, and we're going to make a charge ID, which is ultimately what the payment gateway returns. We mock our payment gateway. We say, oh, I got you. Okay, so we're going to have to do kind of the same thing with order here. Product name. Oh, that all comes from product. Okay, so we're going to need to copy this mockery on bit here again. And this is how we're going to end up testing our price. So we're going to say product is the product ID, of course, and then the order total here is actually going to be 9. So we can say something like 9. All right, and then so long as all that happens, then we're going to return a charge ID. We're going to fake out the mail because that order confirmation, and we're going to fake out the event. Do we have an event? That was a little copy paste there. So there's no need to fake event anymore. We're not doing anything with event in this application, so let's get rid of that. All right. So we're going to fake the mail. We're going to send the session with the coupon ID. Same drill, we're going to send in all the Stripe information and the product we want to purchase. We're going to assert that they go to order show. So let's say assert redirect route order.show with the order ID. We don't know what the order ID is. Okay, this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to flip-flop some of these assertions. So let's pull this back a little bit. All right, we're going to assert the database has an order with the coupon price for product and user ID. There is no user ID, so that goes away. Transaction ID is fine. Then we're going to select the order out, and that's going to give us the order we need. So we'll just say here order ID, and that's actually kind of a silly syntax. I'm just going to say order. It's all implicit model binding, so that should be good. A search session is missing. Do we do that? Yes, we forget that. Okay, good. So we got a little helper method that does all that. Great. So we're going to test that the coupon's been removed, so it's not just floating around in the session. And then we probably also want to say assert session has this confirmation. And that'll be true. All right. And then there's no user. We're not doing anything with user. We're not authenticating them. We would just assert that the mail happened, order confirmation, and then email. Email is what comes in. Okay, so that's going to get order. So the mail's order is the order that we created up here. So they're the same. And then that mail object has a to address of the email address that they submitted by the form. Okay, so let's run through this one more time. We're going to set up all of our factories. Nice, easy math. We're going to set up some generic faker data. We're going to mock out our payment gateway, make sure that it's called with the correct stuff with the discounted order total. If so, we're going to return a charge ID. We're going to fake the mail facade, and then we're going to actually call this order store with the coupon ID that we created. We're going to make sure that the database got the record for the orders. It's going to have the product ID, it's going to have the coupon price, it's going to track the coupon code, and it's going to store the coupon ID as well. And instead of that user object, I bet we store the email address also. And just to prove that, let's look at the order create orders table. Yeah, email address, there it is. Cool. Okay, great. so that's going to get in the database. When we know that that's in the database, then we're going to pull out that order so it's a little easier to work with based on the transaction ID. There should only be one of those anyway, so that can kind of be used as a unique identifier. We could pull it out by the email address as well. Both are options. We're going to assert that they got redirected to the order show page with that order. The coupon was dropped out of the session. There's a confirmation true, and then ultimately that the mail was sent. Cool. Let's see if this works. So again, pretty deep test, but most critical piece of the application. So we want to make sure this is all good to go. All right, so let's run this. And we're green. Great. And just for giggles, anytime I headshot something like that or I make it past the very first time, let's just make sure something fails. Great. Okay, cool. So we have failed asserting that a row matches in the orders table. So this is 9. It's kind of interesting that it moved on. It's kind of interesting that it moved past that, though. It really should have never returned a charge ID. I would have expected this to fail. You know what? This needs to be expects. Same difference. Why? I'm just curious. Why would that... I guess charge just returns null? I think it's just an order of operations thing, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. The mockery expectations are tested last. So it's not really... I bet you if I commented out all the rest of the stuff, we would see the error that these don't match. And it's evident by the fact that the charge ID is not getting returned, and therefore it's not in the database. But it's a little bit of an odd order of operations. So again, just to kind of prove this, let's just comment those out and we'll see. Yeah, there we go. So closure equal to true should be called exactly 1 times, but called 0 times. Yeah, so it's just an order of operations that these kind of mockery expectations are last. So if I make this 9 again, we should be back to green. So yeah, just again, a little gotcha. It takes a lot of testing to kind of pick up on those things that fast. So yeah, hopefully you can keep that in the back of your head. Okay, last one. Store does not apply expired coupon to order. Okay, so we have a coupon. We're making one that's expired, which doesn't seem to be a real thing in our factory, so let's go do that. Oops, not that. Coupon factory. Yep, we don't have that state. So public function expired, and this is return this state, and we'll say expired is equal to now sub days, who cares, 11. Whoops, comma is what we're after, and that's where we need the semicolon. Let's format that file, and yeah, see, PHP Storm can detect those for some reason. Oh, that's not the right test. This is the right test. All right, last one, and then I'm going to have to call it quits. Okay, so coupons has no column expired. That's because it's called expired at. My mistake. Expired at. All right, cool, 500. So let's see, just the rest of this is probably not correct. So let's just turn off exception handling. And yeah, there we go. Payment gateway charge thing, same difference. We don't have any of that. So I'm going to do this a little bit softer here. At this point, I feel pretty confident based on my other tests that we're passing in the correct stuff. So I'm not going to worry too much about like passing in anything else. So I'm just going to say mockery any of, I think, or well, is any an instance? Can you pass an instance? I think you got to say any of. And then what does this take? I think this takes a class, or maybe it's instance of. Instance, no. Any of, I always forget. Some of their naming of the matchers is kind of crap in my mind. So really this should take any order class. Let's see if that works. What's wrong with you? You should definitely expected array. All right, let's find out what the real name is. I thought it was instance of. Mockery, any instance of. Oh, rspec. Rspec is not what we're after. Mockery PHP. Instance equal to an instance of. All right. That's not right. Type. Instance of, oh, Hamcrest. See, like, why do we mention Hamcrest? I don't understand. It's so confusing. Type. There we go. Any of really should be the right one in my mind, but whatever. Or instance of type. I mean, type works, but okay, so we don't have an event anymore. We're not doing anything with the user. We remember that from a second ago. This email needs to be email. And we're going to pull that order. We're going to drop that. Cool. Let's change this to expects. And then, yeah, we need to reverse the order of some of these things. So this needs to be that. This can be all that. Great. And let's drop that into place here. And this needs to just be a bit higher is all. Or, well, just take that out. Let's try, whoops, let's try this. Okay, session has unexpected key coupon ID. Okay, so let's see what happens when we apply a coupon. Okay, so if session doesn't have coupon, if it's expired return, we don't actually forget it out of the session. So we don't need that line. And in fact, we could say instead assert session has coupon ID. So it's still there. Undefined variable user. Oh yeah, we're not sending user anymore. This is email. Email. Whoops. Oh. There we go. All right, so same drill. Let's put that out. Okay, so we make a coupon which is expired. We make a product with a price of 9, and then we ultimately send all that information in, and the total, I'm not sure why we say string here. Let's take this off. I want to see what happens. It's still fine. Okay, so don't necessarily need that string cast. Notice that we're passing in coupon null. So that's the real catch for this, is that we're making sure that the database doesn't have anything like with a coupon, like it wasn't applied or anything like that. So I'm going to finish on one note here. We didn't get as far as I wanted, but that's okay. You know, all these tests are important, and we've tested pretty much most of the failure paths now, right? We've tested that, you know, you can apply coupons, you can't apply coupons, what happens when your charge fails, and then, of course, if your charge is successful. So based on all the code we have here, it's going to be very easy to write the happy path. In fact, we've already kind of written it. So you know what? Let's take the extra 2 minutes and just finish this up all the way. So let's just go back up to the top, and we'll say store, let's see, charges, user, and saves order. There we go. Okay, so we're not going to mess with any coupons. We're just going to make a product. It really doesn't matter its price. So there's a product. We're going to get a charge ID. Here's where we do want to be strict with our mockery on again. So I am going to borrow that up here. And we'll take away just that type bit because it does matter. We get that charge ID back. We're doing the mail fake. We're not going to do anything with the session this time, so let's just pull that back up. And then we're going to assert the database has orders with the product price, with the email, with the charge ID, and a null for coupon. We're going to pull that back out. We don't do anything with coupon there. We make sure we redirect, and then of course we make sure. So there's our happy path. We already had all that code anyway. Now what I wanted to say a second ago and what I'm going to end on is tests. I allow tests to compound upon themselves. So when I go and write a failure path or something else, I really want to focus on whatever that test is talking about. So let's go take a look at that very last test that we just wrote. So this test is store does not apply expired coupon to order. We've already tested that orders are saved and you're redirected and you get the coupon code and the order confirmation. All that stuff is already being tested in other tests. It would really take a lot of effort for you to go in and kind of make that not happen in your code and still have all your other tests pass. So for example, if you had an expired coupon, you don't redirect to order show. I think writing the code to make that one test pass while all the other tests that tested redirect still remained passing would be a little bit difficult. You'd kind of know something else would break is the point. So for those reasons, I'm not too worried about strictly testing every aspect. So just to demonstrate that, if I were writing this from scratch, because I copied it, I would probably just leave it because it's extra, it's extra coverage. Great. But if I were writing this from scratch, I probably would not be testing anything really beyond that the database was what I wanted, because we already tested order show. It's inconsequential to me if the coupon code's in the session. Again, we've already tested the redirection and we've already tested the mail was sent. So this would be more of a test if I were writing something from the ground up of what I would care about. So just to run that again, and we still pass. So store does not apply expired coupon to order. So the order still is placed, which is evident enough by the fact that it's in the database with the charge ID and everything else. All that other stuff's pretty ancillary. It's tested elsewhere. So again, if I were writing this from scratch, kind of true TDD, this would be more of the test that I would write, because I'm relying on previous tests and other tests to give me that full confidence. I don't need every single test to test, top to bottom, every line of code. That's not the goal in my mind of tests. So with that said, let's kind of see where we left off with our order controller test. And great, right now everything is passing. So I think we're in a place where minus all of those, let's just run. Can we just run? I don't think we can exclude the API folder. Okay, so this is all breaking again because the response is not a view. I don't have the view hooked up for that little banner that I'm trying to return for the purchasing power. I think once I do that, most of those 92 failures are going to go away. So, but as we saw from the order controller, most important part of the application, 8 tests passing, 32 assertions, all good there. So I'm going to go back and work on the views now and hopefully launch this maybe next Monday or Tuesday to go ahead and get a jump start on those early bird Black Friday deals. So I heard some stuff in the chat. Let's see what's going on. I have an alias PU for vendor bin PHP unit. Yeah. Again, there's 100 different ways to do all this. PHP artisan. Let's just look at that other one though, artisan test. So it's all wired up. There's nothing I have to do. And you just get, some people like the cleaner output here. And here's that banner that we're talking about, right? There's none of that's set up yet. The banner's not set up. It's not wired up with that URL variable. So I'm sure once I copy that over from base Laravel, this is all gonna be passing much closer. Most of those 95 are gonna be fine. And those 7 incomplete tests are mostly the form requests, which is just a real simple unit test. So I'll fix that up. Anyways, thanks everybody for watching live. Sorry again for the delay. I'm kind of just getting back into the swing of things now that I'm a new dad, which is super exciting. But code is exciting too. So again, minus the sleep deprived, slower bit. Hopefully, it was all still good. So I'll try to do another one next week. Until then, I'll catch everybody on Twitter, and thanks again.